Hello, my comic collecting pals. Welcome to another episode of People with Issues. Now, my guest today is Roy from Essex in England, also known as Geekyolhog, a wonderful YouTube channel. If you're not familiar with that, there will be a link in the description. Roy is every bit the Essex boy, as you'll hear from his wonderful accent. If you're not familiar with him, I hope you enjoy listening to him as much as I did. Now, a couple of things. Roy's got an extensive history in comics, collecting both British and American comics. Anyone familiar with his channel will be used to the reviews, spotlights, and general comic chat that he does. There's so much to get into because Roy's also a writer and previously owned some comic shops. So much to talk about, so much we got through in our preliminary chats. We decided to focus this episode primarily on Roy's knowledge and history of British comics. Not just because that might be a bit different and perhaps of interest to, as well as people in the UK, some of my friends in North America. But also for me, because there are gaps in my knowledge of some of the things that Roy was into. So we have focused on this. Somewhere down the road, we might have to have another episode with him to look at the American comics. So I hope you enjoy that. We'll just say, if you are watching, we had a series of technical issues, and we actually did the recording twice. Now, in the first 5 minutes, if you're watching on a big screen, like your TV, you might see a sort of the video quality on part of the screen is lower. After about 5 minutes, it settles down and improves. A couple of little buzzy sound things going on as well, but we've got it as good as we can. And I really hope you enjoy listening to Roy. I will see you on the other side. Bonjour!
Haha, bonjour, Paul. How are we doing?
Roy, fantastic. Thanks very much for joining me. Real pleasure to have you on the channel.
It is an honour. It is an honour, sir, to be invited. No one invites me to anything anymore.
So, on this channel, we like to afford people full candour, all the inner workings of what goes on. So this is take two for us, because we had we've had several hours worth of awesome chat already, but we had some technical stuff last time, and the output, frankly, what you had to say was too good for the quality I produced. So my bad. So we'll crack straight on. We'll get straight into it.
Go on.
Now, we were talking. In the UK, 70s, getting into comics. Now, I came back to the UK about 1977, so you started a bit earlier than I did.
Just
British comics. British comics. So we were talking about both of us being started on the funnies, like Whizzer and Chips and Core, and chuck a few others in that I can't remember.
Yeah, Whizzer and Chips, Core, blimey, the funny ones. Now, they would have been later, like Buster.
Yeah.
No, it would have been Core, Whizzer and Chips, Beano and Dandy, which were somehow they were institutions. You know, your mum and dad shut you up. Instead of putting a screen in front of a kid now, back in that day, not quite the same, but it would have been a Beano or a Dandy, wouldn't it?
I pretty much progressed from the funnies to Marvel Comics when a pal handed me a pile of Spider-Man weeklies. But so you progressed from the sort of funnies to the more sort of action-oriented books.
Yes. So my first comic book memories, moving from just it being a disposable piece of entertainment, because obviously this is pre-video recording, so you'd watch something on telly, it's there and gone. You watch it, and a bit like a comic, it was there and gone. Even though I did keep them without knowing I was collecting, you know, the Beanos and the Dandies. Decades later, I still had boxes. I wasn't collecting, I wasn't bagging them or anything like that, but I was keeping them. It just seemed like a waste to just literally throw it away. So I never threw away any of those until they went to a charity shop decades later. But so I progressed on to, and it's funny that Beano and Dandy were DC Thompson, but I went on to Bullet. I think Bullet was the first one out. So, and it was like, it made you feel grown up. You was reading grown up comics. I don't know why a boy of a certain age, you know, I'm not reading Beano and Dandy no more.
Yeah.
I'm reading Bullet and Warlord.
Uh-huh.
So Bullet being a boy's own adventure stories like Valiant, because I didn't have an older brother or any other siblings. So I think at my age, a lot of kids may have been introduced to Valiant, Hotspur, you know, the boys' own adventure comics, but they was just that bit before my time. Bullet and Warlord were designed for a new, modern audience, and they nailed it for me. They nailed it. Between the two of them, you had, you know, your spies, your obviously all your war stories, your anti-heroes. You had everything in there, in between them two, and that's where comics were kind of becoming more than just the throwaway. I would say.
And you were still, I mean, it sounds like a long time, but it was about 30 years after the end of the Second World War, still actually relatively, you know, not long ago. I remember a lot of those sort of things being quite prevalent, including the Commando pocketbooks and Battle War Library things, which are significant, and I'm gonna touch on them right now.
Yes, so I think it was 61 they started.
Yeah.
1961. And look at that, Ian Kennedy cover. I mean, that is issue 862, so we're in the mid 60s. Issue 862, Ian Kennedy. I mean, the older I'm getting, the more I'm appreciating them, to be fair.
Yeah.
But that's what they were. Oh no, that's the wrong ones. But this was all of the same era. Westerns, because they didn't just do war; they would have done Western. Battle Picture Library was another company. But yeah, they were great. They were great. Them little pocketbooks.
All right, so having done the funnies and having progressed to action, war, espionage type things, how did you tell me about getting into the sort of sci-fi?
Right, so that was collecting, and that all, and it's no surprise to UK comic collectors that it all boils down to this. Well, issue 2 for me. It didn't boil down to issue 1 because I missed it, and I had to get it. I had to reacquire it for £5 later on, but it did have the space spinner on the front. Yeah, that was when I started getting. That's when you know you're getting into proper comic collecting. You're paying £5 for a comic that was 8 pence Earth money. But anyway, this was my gateway. 100%. This comic. I know it's overused hyperbole, but when I say this blew my mind, it did. It did. You had the roster. It was Judge Dredd first appearance. You had Invasion, which was the Russian invasion of England, but they dressed it up as Vulcans, and shooting Margaret Thatcher on the doors on the steps of Number 10 and all that. It was punk rock in a comic. And it blew my mind, and then that then set me on a journey that literally opened my eyes, and I thought, my God, you can, probably more subliminal than obvious at the time, but in the back of my mind you're kind of thinking, this is what you can do with comics. These are the stories you can tell, Judge Future Lawman, Flesh, going back in time and harvesting dinosaurs for meat for the future. Just two tiny examples of how that comic.
So that's awesome. So and now recently, Dave from Still Only 35 Cents did a great feature on free gifts that you used to get in Marvel UK comics, and that's one of the best ones. The on issue 2 of 2000 AD. Tell us about that.
The stickers that didn't come off. whatever gum they used. I remember being in the bar, like Sunday night bath time, and I still had this biometric sticker on my forearm. Luckily, didn't have hairs at the time. I was only the tender age of 10, but I remember my mum doing her nut. I put all these stickers like to show, Bionic Man, $6 million man was big at the time. So obviously the biometric stickers and the character called Mac 1, which was a homage. Let's call it a homage. I was going to say rip-off, but Mac 1 was the $6 billion man.
Yeah.
And he had super strength. And that's what it was replicating. He had, circuitry running. But these stickers didn't come off. It had a watch as well. I seem to had a watch that you put round like, but anyway, much scrubbing to get them off, much scrubbing, but good memories. I was with my mum when I bought that, just stupid things like, why is there a bit of pen on there? But listen, this is the actual, I do keep this bagged and boarded, all the 2000 ADs, but the memories of the actual issue you bought, and I've still probably the first 50, and even these warlords and bullets, these are the ones, like there's the surname that the news agent, and I'd done my nut back in the day when I used to cycle to the news agent with my dad, and suddenly they're writing it in biro.
Yeah.
Dad, tell them no, they can't damage me comics like that.
Yeah.
But now look at the state of them. But they're not, I suppose maybe the first issues of these comics with the free gifts are worth a lot of money, but they're worth more to me in memories and being part of my life. And they just go back in the box. What Threads allows me to do is dig all these out. And reminisce in a way. And there was some good stuff in there, some good decent artists. A bit like this issue too. I mean, I suppose for US and Canadian and further afield viewers of your channel, the name of Ian Kennedy won't resonate. But for UK comic book fan, Ian Kennedy, I noticed just rummaging through this before we started recording, Ian Kennedy done the first Mac 1 story. And, with Dave Gibbons on Harlem Heroes and Mick McMahon on Judge Dredd, Massimo Bernardelli on Dan Dare. Wow. Mm-hmm. Wow. Just, yeah. Wow. Yeah. So that was the one that started me off. And I can pinpoint it specifically to that issue too. Nothing before that set me off on comics like that did.
Yeah, and it's pretty special. It's nice to go back and I've gone back and replaced a few comics that I had back in the day and parted with, but it's pretty special having the actual one that you picked up or bought at the time.
I think so. The ones that you've actually had your hands on, ripped out the free gifts, stuck them over your body.
And we all in the UK remember the pain of when you started sort of getting serious about your comics and you look back at them and they've got the name or address written on them. I think I previously told the story of when I started getting concerned about that with some of the Marvel UK weeklies I was getting delivered. I went up to my local news agents, a really nice woman behind the counter, and kind of asked her about it. Said, is there a way to kind of not do this? And she said, tell you what, why don't I make you a special folder and we'll keep it behind the counter?
What a nice lady.
It means you wouldn't get them delivered. You'd have to come and get them. And I was like, oh no, that's thanks so much. And she was like, I'll make sure everyone knows it's your special folder. It's down here, kind of thing. Oh, so nice. And after a couple of weeks, I went up to pick up a few comics, and across the top of them it had written "Do not deliver."
Oh no! Oh, you couldn't write that, could you? You couldn't. No. You couldn't script. You couldn't script a sketch like that, could you?
Bless her, bless her. So, for anyone that might be unaware, which is largely me, 2008. I've done this before. 2000 AD, not 2000 AD. 2000 AD. Bit of a breeding ground for some top talent as well. Chuck out a few names for me.
Massive. Well, leading on, obviously you've got Dave Gibbons, from issue 1, doing a strip called A Future Sport. Because what they did, like I said about Mac 1 being a facsimile of, let's call it a homage, that's a much better word, of TV shows. Harlem Heroes was a future sport based on Rollerball, film at the time in the late 70s. So
James
what they
Caan.
tried to do, what Pat Mills, who was the brains behind this, he tried to base a lot of strips on other media outlets, which would have been TV and film, because his previous comic was action, and he had a cop called Dredger, which was obviously Dirty Harry. They had a strip called Hook Jaw, which was obviously Jaws. They had a strip called Hellman's, nothing to do with the mayonnaise. It was called Hellman's, not Hellman's Heroes, or Hellman in. Anyway, but that was basically a James Coburn film where he was a German soldier fighting the Russians, and it was that Sam Peckinpah. Anyway, so what they decided to do was a story from the German point of view, an action again, and it was Pat Mills that, and it led to 2008. You know, without getting into the history of British comics, because that could be an entire. It could, and what led on, and getting back to your question, you know, the likes of Alan Moore started. Brian Bolland would have been on Judge Dredd early. He started doing covers on 2000 AD. What other Kevin O'Neill, who went on, you know, he done Nemesis the Warlock for I'm going on for years. I'm jumping ahead.
Yeah.
They're the kind of international names. But then beyond that, you know, Grant Morrison, they all started off in British comics. You know, names like that. They just did. They did get.
That's quite some pedigree. Not bad at all.
Yeah, so, we owe a lot to that, and a couple of comics that came later in the UK. But yeah.
So, know from when we spoke before that in amongst that stuff, pretty special book you showed me. Could you share that with us again now?
Yes. So the pinnacle of, from what begun in 2000 AD, the pinnacle of it before, and what we owe so much, like what America owes so much to, the British talent, begun here in this humble, and this actually hit the newsstands as well. So it's an independent comic. Des Skin, who was an editor of Marvel UK. Sorry, they're in these binders. Look, my mum bought me these binders to keep them in, and ever since, I've got 2 binders with all my warriors. But look, it's no good. But I can't take them out. You know, the memories are too deep. But Marvel Man, does anyone recognise that character? This is where V for Vendetta, Marvel Man, this is where they all begun in Warrior. And it was Des Skin, and who was a very prolific editor at Marvel UK. We owe a lot to the man, Des Skin, a lot. He started off he was the one that done the Captain Britain, not the original weekly, but when it come back monthly with Alan Davis and Alan Moore. I think I might be mixing that up with Bernie J as well. She was an editor at the time. But I think Des Skin passed on the mantle. I think he was gone. Actually, I think he might have gone. No, that was later. Anyway, memory becomes fuzzy over the decades.
I
but
digress.
This one, I digress. This one is the inspiration, the amount of talent, the roster of talent. John Bolton doing Shandor, the Demon Stalker. Now that would have already have been published in Hammer House of Horror, which was another Des Skin creation. And this is where these underrated British gems like the original Doctor Who Weekly, which I did buy at the time. I haven't got them anymore. They all went into the shops when I started doing them. But Dave Gibbons doing the artwork on Doctor Who. I forget who was writing them, to be fair, because I wasn't the biggest Who fan, but I was there for Dave Gibbons' artwork. But all of these comics were lining up. Hammer House of Horror, Warrior, and the talent within them, that for me is inspiration, because that is when the big publishers, which were the two big American publishers, more DC than Marvel, but this is when the headhunt began. And that would have probably been early mid 80s, just before Vertigo and all that. And Vertigo was more or less all the Brits doing colour comics. Because these were all, by the way, these were all black and white. You know, there was no colour in British comics, apart from the centre spread.
Very little, yeah.
But yeah, for me, and again, just when you think you've become comfortable with, 2000 AD, which is no problem, nothing wrong with that, entertaining me every week. And then Warrior comes along and you feel, oh, wow, we can still do more.
So, and you mentioned like Star Wars Weekly. So where in that did you sort of get into sort of Marvel UK?
So just before Star Wars Weekly would have come out, a friend of mine at school, we was all buying 2000 AD. That was the one. If you was buying comics, if you wasn't a kid that was into comics, you'd never heard of it. But if you were, 2000 AD was the comic you had to have. But he had also bought, I don't know if he was using a different newsagent or whatever it was, because the one I was buying from, it was heavy DC Thompson. But I never see Action or Battle, which was Fleetway, which was the other UK publisher at the time. So I don't know what it was. I've never looked into it, but I don't know if certain newsagents had certain deals with certain publishers or the rep, because they would have reps from the time coming to the public from the publishers. Anyway, my newsagent didn't have the Marvel UK stuff, but my mate's one did at school. Not that they were that far away, but they were just different newsagents. And he had Fantastic Four reprints, the original Marvel UK, should I say. And then suddenly again, your imagination is opened even more. So I started going to his newsagents, and that was back in the day when they weren't too far. I don't know what the deal was, because a lot of it now is sale or return, because there's so much product there to put on the shelf. I suppose it has to be sale or return. But back in that late 70s, you could go to a newsagent's and there might be, behind the Mighty World of Marvel latest issue, there could be 3 or 4 of the previous week's comics behind it. They would just put the latest issue in front. So I was hoovering them up. I was hoovering up back these Marvel, after he showed me this Fantastic Four. And it was his dad that said, you do know that, like, there are old comics that are worth money now. And it was like, oh, are they? And that was like he planted the seed of the, because he was a very well-read man. He was always reading a book. He had a decent job, not like my dad on the docks and all that. He had a proper job in town, and, we all thought he knew what he was talking about. And he did, because he told us to look after them. And that's when I started buying folders and the old paper files. We used to store paper.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough, in my bedroom at home, I was lucky enough to just have this double-doored cupboard that my dad put shelves in, and I just used to put any old crap in there. But suddenly, and it was an organic thing. I know that's another overused word nowadays, but it was an organic thing. I didn't suddenly have a switch when 2000 AD number 2 come out. Yeah, I was taking it seriously, but I probably still wasn't thinking, oh, I'm a collector now. But it just happened. I was still keeping me Dinos and Bandies. and me bullets and me warlords. But now suddenly I'm putting them in number order and I'm putting them in these these cardboard files.
Yeah.
You know, designed for office use. You know, go to WH Smith's and buy these box files. Or not the black box files, the card ones. And I would label them up. You know, Bullet Volume 1, Warlord Volume 1, and I'd have the first 10 or 12 issues of what I had. They wouldn't be in order of public, like, so I wouldn't have issues 1 to 12 in the first volume, but it would be the earliest issues I had would be in Volume 1 and Volume 2. 2000 AD was the only one I had from issue 2, and I bought every week religiously. Yeah. So
and we didn't. And there wasn't like so for Marvel UK, and again, lots of great videos out there about the history of this, but just for a quick recap, before there was, so in the 60s, you'd have publishing companies or publishers in the UK who would produce a publication that would have material from, there might be something from Marvel, there might be something from like other companies, and
they'd license, they'd buy the license,
yeah. And then when we had Marvel UK, it was like dedicated Marvel reprinted material. We didn't all know. It was like a rite of passage for a child in the UK, a Marvel fan, to be collecting, reading these weekly or monthly black and white reprints. And then there's a point at which you realize it's reprints of older stuff. When if you went to a city or a proper, comic book shop or a big store, you could actually get the current US color Marvel books.
That's
but
it.
everyone I spoke to all seem to have that point where it's kind of like, I feel betrayed. This is
yeah. You I don't know if betrayed is the. I know. Yeah, you have that epiphany where it's like, what these weren't like made for me. They was reprinted from America. Now, like, so those early FF reprint and the Mighty World of Marvel, which was Hulk and obviously backup strips and that, you thought this was like new. So Mighty World of Marvel was the first one in 73. No, 72. There's issue 3 there. There's issue 3. So it was Hulk, Spider-Man, and FF. Your classics. For UK Marvel fans, like I say, a little bit early for me, but obviously I'm a collector now, so yes. But when they realised that Spider-Man was a big hit in America and it probably could be in Britain, and Mighty World of Marvel was doing well, they separated Spider-Man out, but then brought Daredevil in. So you're reading him there. But then I know you've got some. If we fast forward 15 years, you've got some Marvel Super Action or was it Marvel Adventure or Marvel Action, something like that.
Super Adventure.
Daredevil reprints. So there's still. I think my point is, after all that waffle, sorry, Paul, is Marvel churned out kind of like that those early years. So you would be reading Cole and Daredevil, but in glorious black and white.
You previously touched on the wealth of sort of creative talent coming out of UK comics, and you sort of briefly alluded to an aspiration to become an artist.
Yeah.
Now, you did become a writer.
Yes.
So tell me about the Commando pocketbooks.
So obviously they are another kind of British, they're another UK comic institution. And I tried doing art college when I left school, but I didn't have to, I didn't my social background, for want of a better thing, not that I'm getting the little violin out, but I couldn't afford it to do my foundation course in art school, which is that's what I wanted to do when I left school. I wanted to draw comics, so I got me art GCE, just like Rodney, and off I went into the big wide world. I did do a convention when Warrior was first published. I still had it in the back of my head that I was going to go to art college. Took my portfolio along, and they all said the same thing. Yeah, like what you're doing. Good start, son. Good start. But do more life study. Do more life. Yeah, they all told me the same thing at the panel at this convention. It was a warrior panel. So that all falls by the wayside. And then I met my significant other and get married, have a kid, the families come along, blah, blah, blah. I see an advert for a comic book writing workshop in Comics International. And that was good old Des Skin as well, but one of his publications. And I thought, why not? I just literally thought, why not? It just felt right. I just thought, I'll try it. And it was only like, I don't know, like $5 a session or $10 a lesson, whatever it was. So, and the guy there, he actually had a contact at Commando, at the DC Thompson, who published Commando. And he said, guys, he said, I know you all want to, one of the first things he said was, I know you all want to write X-Men, Batman, and Spider-Man. He said, forget that. That all goes to the well-established writers that have worked the craft, that have earned the right. They've earned the respect to get the top tier jobs. And you don't, until someone explains it like that, you think, right, okay. Well, you teach me how to write and, you know, how to format your creativity. And that's what it is after time. Anyway, he said, yeah, Commando Comics are actively, at the time, looking for new writers because, like you said earlier, like a lot of them, like post World War II in England, you know, it was still, World War II was still fresh, but we still had people that had fought in World War II, and it was men. I don't know why I said people, I'm trying to be politically correct, but it was men that fought in World War II that were writing for Commando, and they were dying off. And the editor at the time, a beautiful human being called George Lowe, to cut a long story short, he took me under his wing. So I started applying. I started sending World War II stories, but no, they wanted new war. They needed new areas of conflict to freshen it up. And he just steered me in, such a lovely man, steered me towards things like Vietnam or Falklands War, any other theatre of conflict. World War II had been done. You think by that point they'd been publishing for about 25 years. 4 comics a month for 25 years. They had done it. They'd done the lot. Nevertheless, I did still get in a few World War II stories at the time. So anyway, I've done the writing course and ended up writing, I think it was 15 or 16 in the late 90s, thanks to George Lowe.
That's fantastic.
Like mentoring, like kind of mentoring me, because I did try. I tried and I tried. Because at the time, I thought that if I get my ultimate goal was to write for 2000 AD. And I did send stuff off to 2000 AD. Once I had stuff published by DC Thompson, I saw it as a step. I thought, right, okay, let's start here. Let's learn the craft. Let's learn the format and how we approach people and blah, blah.
Yeah.
But no, that wasn't to be. But yeah, and I did. When that first comic came through that I'd written, and they'd used a new artist on the cover and a new artist on the interior. So it wasn't like, I mean, later on I did get good artists and cover artists on my stuff. But I think when they're having a gamble, they put it all in one basket, to be fair. And that's the little, you know. So yeah, it was a Vietnam story that got first published. But the buzz I got from that, you could take the best drugs in the world and you don't get the buzz. Like, these are the comics I used to read when I was a kid. And now I've written one. Like, they're publishing my story. And not that I imagine that there were kids reading it now, but yeah, that little thing was still in my head, thinking, oh yeah, people are reading my stories now, and I grew up with them, and now someone else is growing up with mine. You know, it's in the pantheon. So yeah, as you can tell, I was quell excitement.
I think any of us would be. This is a perfectly good time to mention as well. You've also written a screenplay which has been made into a film. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, well, not quite the screenplay. I wrote the story. I've had quite a checkered history with film stuff. So I produced a World War One film, and I wanted to. I got involved because getting back to British comics again, there was a story, a beautiful story called Charlie's War, about the First World War. So somehow I ended up in front of this guy who's written a World War One film, and I wanted to add, oh no, I'm going to get in a really rambling story. But anyway, basically, I've had a checkered history with filming, like producing and being executive producer or throwing some money at short films and all that. But what it's eventually wound up is one of the stories I've written, they turned into a screenplay. But because of the history I've had with filmmaking, I just let them run with the story. I just said, guys, I'm not going to waste any money collaborating, because there's no it's horrible, honestly. There's a lot of horrible people in that industry. And I said, right, but the two guys I was dealing with, the director and the main actor in the film, they're friends of mine. So I said, look, take it and run with it. Do what you want. And anyway, A Gangster's Life. A Gangster is the film's called A Gangster's Life, and so it's from my story, and they've done a good what's the word? Adaptation. They've done a good adaptation of it.
And
that's obviously budgetary, because at that level of low budget filmmaking, and that's the thing with my writing a lot of the time. What I write is so expensive to film, and until you are working with Spielberg or someone, or Michael Nolan, you haven't got the dough to do it.
And that's available to view?
It's on Amazon and Apple Pay, Amazon. Yeah.
Okay, so here's coming away from the books for a minute. Let's jump into something a bit bonkers and a bit fun.
Go on.
I said to you, if I was picking five, did I say five? I said five. 5 US super characters, could be heroes or villains from any era, and I'm bringing them to the UK for a bit of a square go with your team.
Yeah.
Bit of a dust up. I challenge you to pick 5 UK heroes or villains.
The challenge. The
challenge.
The challenge. Well,
so
go on.
I thought what might be fun is tell me who your first one is. I'll tell you who the first one is on my list, and we'll work out.
No, you've got to tell me the enemy. You've got to tell me the enemy first.
No.
All right then. Well, my first one up is Captain Britain.
Captain Britain. Well, my first one up. So now, what I tried to do, what my tactical genius here, is don't go with what they'd expect.
Yes.
So if Captain Britain's cutting about your team's clubhouse, and he's like, "Listen, chaps, those bloody Americans are bringing over a team to give us a good biffing."
That is no way. He does not talk like that.
I think right. What they're going to do, they're going to bring the Hulk.
That's how he talks in my head. That's how Captain Britain talks.
Anyway, you're Captain Britain. So I was like, right, let's do totally unexpected. So Captain Britain's facing off against the son of Satan.
Oh.
Ooh.
Okay.
Who's winning?
But now you've brought him in against Captain Britain. But if you're going to go for characters that have been designed by Americans, but like Son of Satan doesn't live in America, does he? He lives in hell. So I would counter that with Nemesis the Warlock.
Well, you can't. Who isn't British? He's a British creation.
He's a British
he's having a square go with Captain Britain.
Yeah.
Who's winning?
And Nemesis the Warlock comes and helps him out.
No, he
He's
doesn't.
going to help out Captain Britain.
He doesn't.
Actually, yes, because he is a human and he hates aliens, and he could see Son of Satan as an alien influence. Yes.
Was Nemesis the Warlock on your list?
Yeah.
Right. So you've blown your number 2. I'll tell you who Nemesis the Warlock's getting in a minute.
Go on.
Captain Britain, Son of Satan. Who's winning?
I think Nemesis the Warlock is.
Right. Well, that's one to me, because you're just not you're not getting it. So Captain Britain, Son of Satan's winning on the basis you're just not producing an argument for a victory here. So
wow.
So you're number 2. Oh, the rules on this the rules on this show are the rules. So you're number 2. You're, what was his name? Nemesis. The Warlock. Nemesis the Warlock. He's facing off against Rom the Space Knight.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, see, now that would be, yes. Yeah, do you know what? That would be an awesome crossover. That would be a properly good crossover. Yeah.
Nobody's buying that. Is he beating Rom the Space Knight?
The thing is, now I'm thinking about it, we don't want Rom going up against Nemesis, because they're not enemies. They would be on the same side, because they would be fighting for truth, justice, and the alien way. And it would be Top Commander who's the enemy. But
this is the way they've.
Do you know what? I think Nemesis with his Blitz Spear. No, he's doing Rom. He's going to run him down with his Blitz Spear. He's going to do it.
I'll let you have
he can take on Top Commander, who was literally trying to take over the entire universe. He's going to deal with Rom, no problem.
All right, I'll let you have that one. Who's your number 3?
Thank you. It's going to. My number 3 is, and again, this isn't. And yeah, these are all very, very 2000 AD as I'm looking at my list. It's going to be Strontium Dog, the mutant bounty hunter. Who have you got? He's got time warp bombs. He's got a big gun, and he's got X-ray vision.
Yeah, I'm a bit concerned about this one. My number 3 is Stingray.
Stingray?
Yeah.
What the B-list? Was it a Namor villain? Stingray, is that the one you mean?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Oh wow, you went left field there. You did warn me, did you? You did warn me about that. Stingray.
I thought, what are the odds you might pick a watery one for number 3? I don't know why. Stingray is winning the best dressed hero.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, yeah. And he was vicious as well in those early issues of Submariner. Yeah, Stingray was, yeah. So with brute strength, I suppose he's not going to really face off against Strontium Dog a lot, is he?
He's not. I'm giving you that one. Number 4.
Go on. I'm going to go Robo Hunter, because I've tried to keep them British created comic characters.
Mm-hmm.
And even though, actually, he did exist. Where did Robo Hunter exist? Obviously, 2000 AD creation. But, yeah, he was a detective, and he had a robot companion, and he had a robot cigar.
I think I'm having this one.
Go on.
Because my number 4 is a Jack of Hearts.
Oh, yeah, all day long. Yeah, he's just going to do him. Just going to go, Pew! Yeah, you've got that. Yeah. With his, what is it? What is the energy he has flowing through him? The plasma or quasar, whatever it is. What is they called his power?
All that stuff. So we're reaching a critical point here in this dust up, in this transatlantic dust up. So who's your number 5? Now,
Marvel Man.
Marvel Man. So Judge Dredd doesn't appear on the list.
He was on the list, but I've changed my mind.
Oh,
Ah, I had, because there was all it was getting a bit 2000 AD centric. Dread was going to be my ultimate, but then as you was going on about the different, no, to be honest, no, if it's personal, it would be Dread. But I was thinking, see, this is where you've messed with my melon, Paul, because I was thinking these are, you're saying I've got US comic characters coming over, but Dread's based in Mega City 1, which is America. So that was messing with my head a bit, and I thought Marvel Man's in England. Oh,
that's that's
so
okay
no.
though.
Do you know what? I will go back to Dread. Go on. Who's going to face off against Dread? Judge
So
Dredd.
I wanted to go really unexpected for number
Go on.
5. Pace Pot Pete.
Well, I've won. I've won the 5th round.
So Dread's basically got a gun.
Yeah.
So glue in the gun. Game over.
What do
No,
you mean game? No, hold on. I'm not putting up with that. I'm not putting up with game over.
I think to be fair, the result of that competition is your guys won the dust up, right?
Yeah.
My guys are the best looking squad.
Yes, definitely. Apart from Pace Pot Pete, come on. I mean, I know Daredevil. You know, I used to love. That's why he's one of my top 2 favourite Marvel characters. It's Daredevil. It's Daredevil and Captain America. They are my favourite 2, and I think it's because they're not. You know, having thought about this over the years, it's because they're not overpowered to the max.
Yeah.
They've got their. He's got his shield, and all right, he's strong. I know they've gone a bit. In modern times, they've gone a bit Superman with Captain America, but before that, he was a bloke with a mission and his duty to the flag and all that. I loved that. And with Matt Murdock, I love the fact that all right, it was a superpower, but it's 2020. Really, he should be a B-list character, Daredevil.
It's more character than power, isn't it?
Yeah, and some of the villains he used to have. What was Leapfrog? You talking about Pace Pot Pete? You've got Leapfrog in Daredevil. Man Ball.
Leapfrog and the organizer were on my B team.
On your B team. I wouldn't want to see your C team. Brilliant. No, it's a brilliant bit of fun, but it does mess with your melon because you think, right, well, some of these are in America, like Strontium Dog, like, oh, yeah, actually, he was English, he was UK based because that's where the mutant thing began. But anyway, I won't bore anyone.
That was very good fun, and I like the inevitable arguments you get into about it. It's like a pub quiz, isn't it? It's kind of like, no, hang on.
Yeah, hang on. Yeah. It's a bit like playing, doing role playing games back in the day, like you and your mates, and it'd be like, no, hold on, you can't do that. You can't throw a 7, and you know your wizard destroys my army. No, you can't do that.
So something else I need to touch on briefly.
Go on.
Before we finish. I've talked about a great many types of comic, and you just sort of leaned aside and showed us your flair for display, all of which reminds me. Now, for over a period, I think was it 90s, early 2000s, you actually had half a dozen comic shops.
Yes. Yeah.
The dream.
The dream, and I did, you know, without any. I'll use that word hyperbole or hyperbole, whatever way you want to pronounce it. I was living the dream when I bought. So I took a chance on the first because I've always been a bit of an entrepreneur, and I had my own business at the time anyway. But I saw a comic shop up for sale, and I thought I'm going to have that because it wasn't. It's not like buying a big engineering company with loads of intellectual property and things like that, and you've got to pay tens and tens of thousands. It was, oh, comic shop. I'm taking on the lease and buying a bit of stock and a bit of goodwill. That's what they used to call it back in the day. The goodwill and a bit of stock, and then you take on the blah blah blah. So yeah, I bought a shop, and it went from there. I bought a shop a year for my sins, but it was the best. It was the best run, like I say, since 1990. I've always run my own business. I only ever had one job when I left school, and that was the one that I was trying to get the money. But anyway, to go to art college. So from 1990 onwards, I've always run my own. I've always done my own thing. I've been self-unemployed. So, I mean, but that 7 or 8 year run where I had 6 comic book shops, that was the best, as you can imagine. Like you said earlier, I don't know if you said it off camera or on, but you said picking shit. And yes, yes, that was me.
So for any of us that haven't owned a chain of half a dozen comic shops, I'm going to voice what anyone watching this is probably thinking. It's like, would you not just spend days going from shop to shop to shop, picking up stuff and coming away with tons of comics?
Yeah.
I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah. And then in the days when, I know it's only recently previews stopped. Did you ever get the big previews catalog?
Yeah.
And that's where all those Randy Bowen statues come from. It's when I had the shops, because I don't, not that they do a good quality thing now, but, or when they would do like the absolute editions in a slipcase signed, and this on top and that on top and a flake on top. And I'd go, I think to myself, yeah, well, that invoice would just get absorbed into the business, but I will have this big book. Yes, I did. And then I went skin. So I don't know why. I don't know why I went skin.
I suspect the answer might be in your garage.
Yeah, yes. And in the showcase, yeah.
In response to what's it like actually having comic shops, it's what we all wanted to hear. So thank you for that.
No,
also for everything we've squeezed into this. I think the amount of time we've actually spent talking before, recording segments of this to put together, we definitely could be here all day. But
yes,
I think for anyone unfamiliar with you, it will give them a flavour.
Yeah. A soupçon.
A soupçon.
Yeah.
A little something.
Get a soupçon of hog.
Yeah. Listen, thank you so much, buddy. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Paul. Genuinely, thank you. I am honoured to be invited anywhere. Like I said at the beginning, I'm invited to be honoured anywhere. So yeah.
You and I will chat a bit more in a minute. Try not to spend the whole day doing that, but we will try and do that in a minute. For everyone else watching, please, if you're not familiar with Roy, take a look at his channel, give him a sub, drop something down in the comments below to say hi.
Become a sexy subscriber. It's top of the tree on YouTube. If you're on YouTube and you're not a sexy subscriber, Paul, what are you doing on YouTube? If you're a comic fan.
Subscribe to Roy's channel. You could be as sexy as me. Eh?
Yes. Eh? Come on. Makes you feel good.
Roy, thanks a lot, buddy. Appreciate it.
No, thank you, Paul. See you, mate.
So there you have it. That is Roy. As you can see, quite a character. His videos on his channel are so entertaining. He's so much fun to watch. But as I say, as you'll have heard from the chat we had, the history he's got, the knowledge of British, not just British comics, but the artists and creators as well, and his experiences of getting into writing for the Commando pocketbooks and ownership of shops for a while as well. Really fascinating stuff. So do hope you enjoyed that. Please remember, in the comments below, say hi to Roy, tell us what you thought of the episode. And remember, if you'd like to record your own episode, just get in touch. You don't have to have written for comics, owned comic shops, or have a YouTube channel. If you have done any of those things, that's awesome. But if you just love comics and you want to talk about them, get in touch with me, because I would like to speak to you. So thank you very much for tuning in. And until next time, stay groovy.